Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video, the new best damage dealer on your account, it's Thor Faehammer. I'm going to show you how to build him, my guide for him, and I'm going to run him through, for me, on my account, my actual brutal Hydra team to see how he performs, hoping to do over 1 billion damage. So let's give it a go. What is Thor all about? Attack in all battles. Aura. Whenever he deals damage, and this includes every hit with his AoE attacks, he gets a thunder counter that stacks up to 10. Each stack increases his damage dealt up to 30% more. Once it reaches 10, he gets an extra free AoE attack that can do a stun, debuff, and then it resets down to 0. His A3 is an AoE attack that self-buffs increased attack and crit damage before attacking. That's huge. All of his damage scales on attack. So an increased attack buff is giving him 50% more damage. You want this on Thor all the time. He brings it for himself, which is great. Increased crit damage is a relatively small buff, but it is going to make him hit harder. He also has got a chance, 75 to 100% when booked, to decrease enemy resistance by 10% up to 50. I think you generally ignore this, but it will help a little bit with placing your decreased speed debuff in Hydra if you're a little bit low on accuracy, and I'll show you how to know how much accuracy to build. He also has got a 75 bucking to 100% chance to place decreased speed, which is really good, and this enables us to pick the Nature's Wrath Blessing. His A2, this is his hardest hitting attack. Every enemy that it hits, it is actually technically coded as single target hits. It does single target attacks against everyone. So any, like a Duchess Lilith passive, Hydra passives that reduce damage from AoE won't protect from this. Or like you've got, this mastery over here, less damage from AoE attacks. Won't work, yeah? It doesn't work. So just big single target hit, stacks up to double damage on subsequent hits, ignores block damage unkillable, but not against bosses. His A1 double hitter, chance to repeat the attack, and each hit decreases the target's turn meter by 10%. Brilliant move as well. Really good. For his blessing, let's actually jump over. So what I've got over here, and we're going to touch on a few different things. This was a Thor spotlight that I wrote over on hellhades.com. So you can check it out, and this will have a lot of the key facts that you need to know. For his blessings, though, I think fairly straightforward. Your best option is going to be Nature's Wrath. Why? Whenever you place debuffs, it's going to boost your damage. And this happens permanently throughout the fight, so long as you place them. So with Thor, at 1 star, you can... Once you place 3 debuffs, he's good to go. So he puts decreased speed on 3 targets or stuns 3 targets. He has 6% more damage for the rest of the fight. It's really strong. This goes up to 8% at 3 star and then up to 15% at 5 star. Even at 5 star, you only have to place debuffs 5 times and it's fully stacked. It does not take long for a massive damage boost. So this is what we want to go for. At 6 star Blessing, Crushing Rend will be better for definitely Brutal and Nightmare Hydra. Yeah, it's going to be better because it's going to allow you to ignore defense for every 10 levels the enemy has. Now, this is not very good in Arena, where you're fighting level 60 enemies. 6% defense ignore, not great. But in Hydra, where you can be fighting level 310 enemies, that can give you 31% defense ignore. Just a gigantic damage increase. It's crazy. Like I said, probably not as good as Nature's Wrath. Definitely not on normal. Possibly not on hard. And yeah, for other like low defense enemies in the game, like Demon Lord Clan Boss, for instance, Nature's Wrath might still be better. But yeah, this is 6 star only, right? Below 6 star, it's only the first hit or the first 2 hits, and that's it. That's no good because Thor is like a long fight type champion. So you wouldn't, very rarely would you ever go for that. For Arena, if you're not confident about landing your stun debuff or decreased speed in Arena, Heaven Cast is okay. It's not as much of a damage boost. But it's good. It's fine. And then at 6 star, you could definitely still consider Polymorph. Right? Polymorph is always good at 6 star. But potentially you could go for like Soul Reap or something like that as well. I would personally be building him for PvE. I would build him for Hydra because I think that's where he is best. And he will still destroy multiple other areas. So you don't need to worry about that. Let's look at the gear, and let me show you how to gear your Thor in the best possible gear. I have him in a very good build for my account, which you will probably not be able to do, but I'll show you how to get the best build for you. What I have done, high attack, good speed. I've aimed for at least 230. 100% crit rate is essential. As high crit damage as you can go. And then I'm aiming for, with a 5-star Blessing, which I'll get from the Titan's Path, I'm aiming for around about 300 accuracy. I'm a little bit short of that, but not too much. Around about 300 for Brutal Hydra, because I do have some area bonuses. You always want to factor these in. 40 extra accuracy from area bonuses. If I add on the blessing, actually I'm bang on. If I add on the blessing, I'll be over 336 accuracy at that point, and that's more than enough for Brutal Hydra. So let me show you what you want to do, a couple of tools that you want to use to make sure that you do this properly. So let's bring over the Hell Hades optimizer. We'll look at that, and we'll also look at hellhades.com. You want to come over here and use the raid stages tool, right? So let's say we want to build him for Hydra. Doesn't matter which rotation. I'm building mine for Brutal Hydra, so I'm going to come into Brutal, and this will show you the stats of the bosses. Now, the key thing you want to look for is the resistance. The orange number is how much accuracy you need to overcome it. But with Hydra specifically, look at this. If the Head of Suffering is alive, add 50 resistance to each head. Decapitating Suffering removes this, right? But we want to basically go in and say, okay, well, the highest resistance is 280. Add on another, the highest resistance is 255. With 50 more, it's 305. We would need 280 plus 50, so we want 330, which is exactly where I'm going to end up after this, which is great. You could always build them lower, because as you can see, the other heads don't need as much accuracy. You could go in lower and be okay. Well, that's basically what you want to watch out for. Again, you could do the same thing for campaign. So let's say Brimstone Path, let's say Nightmare, and Stage 6. How much accuracy do we need? Well, the enemies, you need 55, right? So you need basically no accuracy for that to work for campaign. So that's number one, how you can check your accuracy. And just generally check everything else, like Doom Tower bosses, dungeon bosses, how fast are they, whatever. That's a great tool. Again, come over to hellhades.com and come down to the Raid Stages tool and check that out. I opened the wrong thing. Of course I did. Now, we can also use the optimizer. To get to the optimizer, come to hellhades.com and go to the optimizer. You can install the optimizer and run it for free. There are some premium features, which are great, but you can do all the basic stuff for free. And we are going to use this to get the best damage build for Thor. And I would recommend doing this for your best champions. And Thor, like I said, is likely one of them very regularly, honestly. Very regularly. So we're going to click on Optimize down here, which brings us to this screen. We're going to use the GPU optimizer. We're just going to do a very simple, very basic run here. We're going to click damage. We're going to build our champions looking for the highest possible damage, which is easy. I just want highest overall. If there's a champion like, I don't know, Coldheart, and you only care about her A3, you might set it to only A3. For Thor, we want everything. We're not going to use presets. Configure. This is important because we can decide we want to use artifacts that are equipped by people. Do we want them on locked champions? Do we want to force him to take stuff off locked champions regardless of the lock status? The lock is this little thing up here. I'm actually going to lock Thor now, but if we opened up our champion thing over here and we get rid of this, like you can see your whole account. By the way, my account is linked in the description down below. So if you want to check out all my builds, they're all linked down below, but you can lock champions if you want to stop this. These are the champions I have locked. But I could, for example, come in here and say, okay, why is Jetney locked? Don't use Jetney. I'm going to unlock her. And cool, she's not locked anymore. But I'm locking champions, generally speaking, that are important to arena teams, such as, I mean, most of them, or that are important for dungeon runs. So, for example, my 2 newts are going to be locked in because I don't want their gear taken off of them for dungeons. I think the simplest thing is to just run the optimizer, and then if you find it's taking gear off of someone you don't want gear taken off of, you tell it not to do that anymore. Okay, we come over to battle. Now, if you're building Thor for the arena, I would recommend probably about 4,200 defense. And like for sort of a regular sort of end game player, maybe 100,000 HP. This doesn't really matter, at least for Thor. Some champions it might matter if they need high health, like a Brawny or something, but it doesn't really matter. You could obviously put this higher. I would say, what sort of defenses are you running up against in arena? So, I mean, like if I come in, if I look at my CFI, for instance, it's actually 4,700 and 99,000. Okay, cool. So there we go. And we can put that in. She puts on increased defense. She's going to have more. So I think this is a good rough rule of thumb for arena because it's sort of a soft cap, kind of, for defense. But you can tweak this around. Again, I'd recommend just putting this as like your tankiest, most frequently used champion. You want to be able to kill them to do that. You can pick enemy buffs and debuffs. You can say, I'd probably be putting on increased attack on Thor to make sure you're getting the right ratio. In fact, we put on increased crit damage as well. Get the right ratio of attack to crit damage with his skills. You might put decreased defense on enemies or weaken. Another thing you can do is you can change the area. We are actually going to go for Hydra. I think it's rotation 1 right now. The rotation doesn't really matter. I'm going to build him for Brutal Hydra. By picking this area, it is going to include my area bonuses. So that's going to include my accuracy area bonuses, my ignore defense area bonuses, and the program is going to work out the best stats, right? Whatever we want, which is great. So yeah, let's say we got decreased defense and weaken on the heads. We've got increased attack and crit rate, or sorry, crit damage on Thor. Brilliant. Yep, that looks good. For stats, then you could tweak this. So I could set an accuracy that I want. So for example, right now, I think he's set to 260 because he's 220, but then we've got the plus 40 from area bonuses. I think he's 260. For his speed, I want him to be at least 240 for Hydra, but you can tweak this. And these are the main things I would tweak. I would say if you're an earlier player, or you don't really care too much about his accuracy in Hydra, maybe you could just drop the accuracy entirely. I would say breakpoints for Thor, if you're a new player, aiming probably for about 170 is pretty solid. I think even after about a month of playing, right? If you're able to do the Thor fusion, you should have him 170 at least. I'd say then 200 is another good breakpoint. That's quite decent. And then, as you get further in the game, you get better gear. You can crank this up and you can run this multiple times. You can go, okay, how is he at 200? Okay, the gear it's coming back with kind of sucks. What if I try 190 instead? Okay. Or you might go the other way and say, well, let me just go, I'll go 240. Let's try the 240 and let's see. And then we can put it down by 5 or up by 5. You can tweak it as you go. You can tweak the slots. We're not going to bother right here. Now here you could give him requirements for sets. So one thing you might do for Arena, in fact, let's jump back over to the guide. It will be helpful. Where I recommend different gear sets for Thor. And key stats for Thor, by the way, 100% crit rate. The optimizer will do that automatically for damage. Crit damage, attack, speed, and then accuracy are basically the order for your stats. That's for Thor. For like Hydra, Dungeons, Campaign, Merciless is the best. Lethal is good. Savage is good. Cruel's good. Perception is good as well if you need speed and accuracy. For PvP, for Arena, you might do 4-piece Stone Skin, 4-piece Lethal. You might just go 6-piece Merciless, maybe 3 reaction accessories. But it's fairly standard in terms of the, I'll be honest with you. So the reason that Merciless is, I think, by far the best on Thor is this. So number 1, it gives you the most ignore defense possible, which is the biggest damage, but also a chance to decrease his skill cooldowns when he deals damage. That's really strong because Thor's skills are, his A1 is very powerful, but his skills are even more powerful. And in Hydra, they are going to be hitting an AoE and stacking up his damage counter more. So it will give you more damage and make decreased speed more consistent, etc. So I think that that is really high value. 6-piece Merciless. It's very hard to get if you can't do it. 4-piece Savage. If you don't have good Savage, put him in just good stats, right? And here's the thing. If you're not sure about your gear sets, just don't put any gear set in. But like I said, for Arena, something that can be worth running is you say, okay, I want to try, if I've got Stone Skin accessories, what if I put him in 4 pieces of Stone Skin and then give him as much damage as you can? And you would expect to see Lethal or Savage come back. Again, if you're not sure about your sets, you can just say, just give me the highest damage, right? I don't know what's best. Give me the highest damage. Simple enough. And then we can actually from here just go optimize and click start. And we'll go. In fact, let me actually run it with different stats here. Let me go 170 speed. Let's see what it could do for him. Let's see how hard he could potentially hit, shall we? And this will take a little bit of time. You need to have the optimizer up, and it's going to be sorting through your builds. You'll see them slowly increase in quality. It's going to be a bit slow for me here. The timer is chunking down because I am recording a video. But yeah, let me pause it. I'll come back when this is done, and then we'll take him in for some action. All right, we're actually coming up to the end of it. Something you can do, by the way, while this is running, you can click the pause button, and you can examine different things. I'm actually kind of curious why it's put number 1, 11% more damage. Number 2, 14%. I guess it's still in progress. This one you can see has more attack, less crit damage. This one is way more crit damage. This one does have a lot more accuracy, which is nice, but it's losing a lot of speed. So for instance, this build, let me zoom it in so it's easier to see. With this build, just zoom out so you can still see the stats. Putting him in, okay, it's putting in Cruel as well. and actually getting him in 6-piece Merciless. So 6-piece Merciless, 2-piece Cruel. This one over here is actually going for 4-piece Savage, 2 pieces of Cruel, and ditching the Merciless accessories, right? So you can see these different things and get a sense for it, a feel for what is better overall. Okay, now we've got like a 12, so it's really updating it as we go. You get the gist, but this will like pump out the best sort of build for you. Like I said, I would run it as well, forcing him into 6-piece Merciless if you are later in the game, and just comparing to see how it's good, because this will, I think the 4-piece here can contribute to a lot of damage that the optimizer simply can't calculate in a Hydra run. So it's worth considering. But yeah, try the optimizer. It will pick a build for you, the best possible build for your account, depending on where you are in the game. And something I'd recommend doing, by the way, fairly regularly would be, okay, here's actually the finished one. It would be recommending this. So he would lose. So this is why I won't run the build. We would gain 12% damage, but we would lose 50 speed and 50 accuracy, which would be a real bad thing for Hydra. So that's where you go in and you'd be tweaking your speed requirements, your accuracy requirements. If you have those, depending on your account, depending where you are, there's no hard science, guys. It's just, do some experimentation on the optimizer for an hour in the day and figure out how good your gear is. And I would recommend revisiting this. Yeah, maybe every month or two, every month or two, maybe every 3 months, unlock all of your champions and run this stuff again and find the best stuff for your champions when there's free gear changing. That's would be my recommendation. So that's Thor. I said for me, you can check out the gear down below, but these are the actual pieces I've got him in. Some of the best gear on my account. It's not perfect, but decent. Like this ring, we could really improve. It's not an attack ring. 5-star crit damage necklace. And this over here, we could reroll this. So I can still upgrade the reroll their ascensions on these well at some point. But it's pretty darn good. It's very similar to my ninja build. In fact, ninja does have the blessing. So yeah, if we took the ninja blessing off, maybe Thor's gear is actually slightly better. Maybe I need to go back in and re-optimize the two and whatnot. But let's take a quick look at what Thor can do for you. So for campaign, he will absolutely destroy Nightmare. Funny thing is, for my testing, he's actually not quite as good against, let's just put in some 2-star stuff. Here we go. He's not quite as good against Brutal. The reason is his animations are a bit slow. So his A2 in particular is very slow. But this is him against Nightmare 12-6. It's more of a luxury to do this. And here he might have, yeah, he's got his cooldown back because of Merciless and the Masteries. I need to show you the Masteries, actually. For like 8 seconds, he's ripping through Nightmare campaign. If we do Brutal campaign, Nightmare, you want to do 12-6. And here's the thing. I'm destroying it in one shot because I've got crazy gear. If your gear is worse, though, because Thor has such short damage, such short cooldowns on his damage, and he self-buffs increase attack, and he has a stun and decreased speed, he will actually be one of the best champions in the entire game with bad gear for doing Stage 6 of Nightmare campaign, because he's got the survivability, the self-damaging boosts, decreasing their speed. He's big. You do 12-6 because it's much easier. And then Stage 12-3 of Brutal, he obviously will still one-shot everything. Of course, if he's doing it for me on Nightmare, he will do it here. However, he's not going to be quite as good because his animations are just a bit slow. But look at this. He comes in at A1, and okay, actually then he triggered his A2 again. But his animations are a little bit slow. So that's something you got to watch out for. He's doing it in like 10 seconds. He's actually not that good for Brutal campaign. As you can see, you can do it with a Fellhound in 5 seconds. But Thor can, he can do Nightmare campaign very easily. And he'll slam through all the potion keeps and whatnot. The other one I just want to show you from this basic stuff, and you get the idea, is if we go into Minotaur, he absolutely destroys Minotaur as well. Again, he's self-buffing. He's got the stuns for the waves if you need them, if you need multiple hits to hit the waves. Here we go. We're actually going to reset his stuff. This is the Merciless set doing work. Then he's going in with this. I'm like, look at this boss just getting deleted here. He's getting slowed down by our teammates, unfortunately. But yeah, he can do it very fast without them. But like 21 seconds with teammates, he's done it in 11 seconds without anyone in there when I was farming his masteries for himself. I just put him in alone. He can do it in 11 seconds, which is my personal record, but he can absolutely slam through. Without the 6-piece Merciless, it won't be quite as fast, but still, he will destroy it. I forgot to show you his masteries, so let's take a look at those. Or I forgot to show them properly. These are his masteries that I have gone for. So these are focusing on Hydra. Um, Cycle of Violence, surprisingly good. Again, when your gear is... Put me over. Guess will just take me off the screen. Cycle of Violence is really good because it can decrease your skill cooldowns and his skills are really strong. Helm Smasher is key for Hydra for doing lots of damage. If your gear is absolutely dreadful, War Master might be better, but Helm Smasher is gonna be your go-to, right? Yeah, so I think fairly standard Hydra masteries. Nothing too surprising or exciting there. If you were using him in Arena, you could like ditch Life Drinker and you could give him Whirlwind of Death instead. Doesn't work for Hydra, it works for Arena and works for Campaign and Minotaur and all of that too. So it's worth considering. Let's just take him for a spin into Hydra, which is the big area. I've got a showcase on him as well if you want to see more Thor. Let's go in. I'm also going to swap some gear here on Lazarius. This is a nice cheeky new build we've got for him. Stealing gear off of everybody. Oh man, it's really expensive. I've got no space. Oh my god, hang on. Yeah, farming the pinpoint dungeon. I'm getting so much pinpoint gear. I now have way too many accessories. I need to run another gear cleanse. It's in a bad state. We're actually going to switch Lazarius over to 9-piece protection. This is not supposed to be, in case it's not obvious enough, this is not supposed to be an accessible team, guys. This is my actual brutal team. I want to see what Thor can do. With Turvold, I used Turvold before, and Turvold was able to do and we had 2-star on Turvold as well. Turvold was able to do this move Collapse, about 1 billion damage, a bit over. I used Quintus, 0-star. He could do about slightly under 1 billion as well. So I'm genuinely curious how this is going to go. Let's see. Do we have our presets set up? These are the presets for them. Thor, 1 and then 2. Michinaki like this. Aestrid like that. Podrick like this. He is in Merciless Reflex, I think. Something like that. But anyway, let's go in. Let's go. Let's see how much damage Thor can do, and then I'll pause it, and we'll come back at the end and see how we're doing. Okay, let's go. We're going to ally attack this head over here. Cool. Do some damage, and then just leave them to do whatever they want, basically. So, let's find out. Bang. Thor. Decent damage to start us off. It's something. I guess we should actually target this head. No, you know what? I'm not even going to target stuff. We're just going to mostly... I guess I will target heads, actually. Otherwise, the ally attack's not quite going to work. We're going to try kill Mischief, the squishiest head. So here we should have the big damage hit from Thor coming in a second. Let's put it to 1x speed. Let's see the big damage hit. We're ramping up. Here we go. Thor, you're ready, I believe. Fulminous Ricochet. Oh my god. Kaboom. Now that's some damage, right? Whoa, we went from like 2.8 like over 5 million. That just went nuts. Unfortunately, this Fear Head is going to make our life miserable because poor old Thor is feared. He might miss some turns. Hopefully he won't miss too many, but he could miss some. Let's see an ally attack. Thor missed it because of the true fear. You hate to see it, but that's life. He smacked out another couple of million there, I'm pretty sure. Cool, we got a cleanse off. That's good. And now, okay, the Fear Head is dead. We don't need to worry about him anymore. Let's see what's going to happen here. We've got Weakens out. This might be Thor's A2. No, he's going in with an A1, 700. Almost 700, 1.4 million from his A1 right there with our build. We've got protection sets, 9-piece on Wixwell and on Lazarius. So when they get buffs on Thor, it's really upping his damage. See what we're going to get. There's another buff from Lazarius. There goes in Thor. There's his other AoE. He is slamming out the damage. It's working fairly well. Cool. Here's Weird Spores. He's going in with his A1 ally attack. Lovely. And yeah, let's go until the 1 key on Brutal, just so you get a sense for how much damage he's doing and whatnot. Yeah, that's Thor, plain and simple. Just sort of constantly pumping out AoE damage. Fulminous Ricochet, 1.3 million on this head, 1.7 over here. If you were doing this on manual, you want to target like the head you don't want to kill with this Fulminous Ricochet, because the head that you target first takes the least damage. So we would, for instance, try target Head of Mischief here, I guess. Though it doesn't have Hex on, so it might not work, but you would target that. Oh, we've actually way past the 1 key. I tell you what, I'm going to run the rest of this out, and I will be back, and we'll see how much damage we can do with the Thor. Let's go. Oh, we just got someone devoured. Let's see how quickly Thor can break him out. But 1 hit done. Easy peasy. But hey, look, first devour at about 200 million damage. We're doing between 4 to 5 times million damage per boss turn right now, which is actually kind of insane. So, yeah, good progress. Be right back. All right, guys. Well, the run is done, but here is stuff to give you context. I actually did this last week. So, same builds on everybody, and basically the same sort of gear that was on Quintus over onto Thor. So, here we can see 983 million, slightly short of the 1 billion. Quintus, 354 million damage. Pretty impressive. That's just him spamming his A1. Now, he does not have a blessing. So, like a 2-star blessing would definitely be upping his damage. That probably, with the increased attack, probably we would have hit 1 billion, I think. Probably would have been pretty close. Now, this was from before. Now, with this one, I think I didn't have protection on Lazarius. So, Turbo maybe could have done a bit better with the Lazarius and protection. We would have lost some damage on. Yeah, like I can see, just looking at the two, Lazarius with protection is losing about 40 million damage. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's worth, but Turbo, though, big chunk better. 1 billion, 0.01 damage, 395 million from Turvold alone, right? He's done over 40 million more. Massive gains. What about Thor? Here is the Thor team, 1.18 billion. Thor, 497,000. Oh my god, he's on another level. It's just bonkers. Again, Turvold is very impressive. Yeah, really good damage, but Thor is on another level, guys. Just another level. And right, Turvold is built with less crit rate as well, because he self-buffs crit rate. Thor is just better. And one thing I noticed, I actually set up the presets wrong. He could do more damage too, right? So we're going to do more. We're getting a 5-star soul for Thor. It's happening, and he scales so well off of Nature's Wrath. That is happening. He's getting more crit damage, getting the bonus accuracy, and he's getting the Nature's Wrath blessing scaled up. Like, we're going to be well over 1.2 billion by then. I'm going to keep this result. Very happy with Thor. Oh my gosh, very happy. But I do want to change the AI setup, because I realized we got increased attack from Lazarius and Aestrid and Podrick. We've got so much increased attack in this team. So I actually want to make... We just one-keyed Brutal, no problem. Not even close. I actually want to make a change with Thor. Change this. Because I noticed that he's doing his A3 too much. We actually want to prioritize this. This is the big damage move. So I actually want to set him up like this. We'll open with his A3 for the decreased speed. And I guess he might not even land it because of Aestrid, but we'll open with the A3 anyway and self-buff the increased crit damage. But then I'm going to priority 1 on Fulminous Ricochet instead. It's going to be better. So I think that would actually push the damage higher too. I think that's a better priority. But there you go. Is it an accessible team? Oh, I can't even pick the team now. Is it an accessible team? No, it's not supposed to be. It's my actual team. But yeah, you can see that Thor, he is just crushing the damage. Michinaki's doing really good damage too. Of course, a huge chunk of his damage is Thor's damage. Especially because Hex, as you may or may not know, Hex redistributes 2% of AoE damage, but 10% of single target. Thor's A2 is single target, even though it's hitting everything, but it counts as single target. So not only is that bypassing the Hydra damage restrictions, but it also is pumping way more damage into Hex, which is, again, catapulting the damage of the team higher. Really, really impressive stuff from Thor. Honestly, very happy with that. Yeah, Thor, he's a beast. Let me know in the discussion down below in the comments how you've built your Thor. What do you think of him? Are you enjoying Thor? Yeah, I think he's sick. Man, an attack ring. Oh boy, if we got an attack ring for this, it'd be great. We still have the 5-star blessing to go. I am very, very, very... Yeah, I'm enjoying, and I just love his design as well. He looks freaking cool. He is sick. Good luck building on the optimizer. Hopefully you guys can get the best build possible for your account. I think he is more than worth putting your best damage gear on, because he just claps. He is insane. Squishy in arena, mind you. Maybe that Freya deck of fate could help with that. Help him stay alive. But yeah, that is Thor. That is my build. That's my guide to Thor. Good luck, and I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.